up? How's it
Hey,
going?
well, I'm interested in talking to you a little bit about replacing the sofa that I'm on right now.
Oh,
This one I probably purchased 15 years ago. We've been happy with it. It's traveled around. It's been in now 3 cities with us, and it's done a lot of seen a lot of configurations of my own family as well. And we now have 3 kids, and so it gets a lot of use. So we're looking for something that has the size that this one does, and this is a sectional 15 or 10 feet
okay.
by 5 roughly, or whatever it is.
Before we go there, let me ask you a couple questions. We'll
Yeah.
get all to that. I'm going to give you like a little bit of a SOFA 101 to start so that you know what to look for. But I'm going to ask you some questions that I think will help guide us down the line. If you were going to name a retailer that you identified with from a design perspective, who
Sure.
might that be? Like a Pottery Barn, or Restoration Hardware? Maybe it's, Room and Board, maybe Super Modern, West Elm. Who might that be?
I'll tell you two if that's okay.
Yeah.
Room and Board and Article are
Okay.
two brands we've used recently quite a bit.
Okay. Okay. Totally different qualities.
Yeah.
Okay, that gives me an idea for design. And then what will this sofa be used for? Is this a front of the house sofa? Is this a TV room sofa? What's its use?
This is a daily use, lots of kids jumping on it, family room kind of
Okay.
sofa.
Okay, so all of the above. The next question would have been, so it's for you and a partner. How tall are you? And I have to ask, unfortunately, but how much do you weigh? And then if you could guess kind of what your partner might weigh, that would be helpful.
I say 5'10", she says 5'9", and then
Okay.
I'm about 160
Okay.
is my weight, and then she comes in, clocks in a little lower on the weight side of things, probably 140-ish,
Okay.
45, and
Okay.
a couple inches taller than me.
Okay. So how tall is she? You're 5'9", and so
Yeah,
she is 6 foot
she's
roughly.
yeah 5'10" and a half, I like to say.
Okay. Those play a really important role into the sit, and I'll kind of explain that later. It's a little bit of a tough question to ask, but it's very important.
Yeah.
How cozy do the two of you want to be?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it depends on the day. I mean, again, we have 3 kids, so sometimes we do curl up and watch a movie together. Most of the
Okay.
times, though, we take our own sort of places on the sofa, because one of us is going to fall asleep sooner or later anyway. Yeah.
Okay. So if we were to scale that, so I would say maybe more towards the cozy side than
Yeah,
less, if I were
sure,
to kind of,
absolutely.
okay. And then the last question is, are either of you, where do you rank on like an OCD scale when it comes to do with the interior of your home?
We are both pretty neat and orderly, and try to, an example is just at the end of the day, make sure that everything is put away so that we wake up ready to go the next day, ready for it to get essentially destroyed by our kids.
Okay. Yeah. 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 I was there once. Let's call that a 7.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, do you zhuzh, things
Yeah.
throughout the day a little bit,
Ju-
maybe?
Throughout the
Okay.
day there's a little bit of zhuzhing going on.
Okay. Okay. So a quick recap, just shy of 6 feet. You're 150, 160 pounds, and a 7 on the OCD. The reason why I bring all this up, the question about design and who you identify with, I'm trying to understand scale,
Yeah.
frankly, right? I'm trying to understand what you're most familiar with from a design perspective in scale, how that fits into the room. That
Yeah.
plays a significant role in the interior design aspect of the sofa. The coziness thing is all about how much do you want to sink in and fit into the sofa.
Yeah.
However, on an OCD scale of 7, those two don't go well together, right?
Uh-huh.
More cozy means more sofa maintenance, more zhuzhing, more fluffing, and all that. So
Mhm.
we try to find a sofa for you that is, a little bit more fitting to those needs. And then the height and weight, that's probably the biggest question that's most important. Height really comes down to seat height, and weight plays a role into sinking. So if we have a low seat and then you sink, if you're very heavy, maybe let's say 200 pounds, you would sink really low. That would mean that plays a role into the softness factor, and it just changes everything. So one of the
Mhm.
things that I try to do are these sit fits. I try to find a balance for your needs, right? How cozy, how much maintenance, how OCD, all of those things, and they play a role. I'm going to show you some sofas here. I'm currently sitting in the Venice sofa. This would be scaled more like a West Elm sofa, right? A little bit more of a traditional modern sofa, not too deep, an average modern seat height, right? Modern seat heights are anywhere from, 15 to 17, I would say. A traditional sofa, more like a Pottery Barn sofa, would be in the 18, sometimes 19, and sometimes even really traditional all the way up to 20. And those will change the way that the fit feels and all that. Before I show you sofas, I think I want to talk to you about foam and the types of foam. Now, you said that that's a 15-year sofa that you've been in. That's a good length of time for sofas, right? Sofas generally fall off with, from really good looking to kind of like, not so great to kind of worn. We look at that, how long it goes from not so great, to kind of worn, that era in there. It's all basically measured by foam, right? Foam is, we take a 1 foot square block of foam and we weigh it, right? A Pottery Barn sofa is anywhere between a 1.5 pound to a 1.8 pound foam for that square block. The more latex in the foam creates pushback, right? And that also creates longevity. A Pottery Barn sofa, surprisingly, is a 2 to 3 year sofa. If you're just going off of the foam. Now, that's not to say that you're going to only get 2 to 3 years out of it. But again, that fall off, right? How quickly does it start falling it apart? 1.5 to 1.8 foam is inexpensive because it doesn't have much latex. So when we add more latex to it, then you go up to, say, a 2 pound foam, right? 2 pound foam is the most common foam. And I would say that your article sofa, or if you were to have an article sofa, that would be in the 1.8 category for sure. Crate and barrel sofa is probably a 2 pound foam, right? That is a 3 to 5 year sofa. Then you move up to and typically 2.0 foam is kind of across the board in the bigger retailers. And this is an area where they cut margin, and they won't tell you too. Like if you go to a Crate and Barrel or Pottery Barn, go ahead, ask them, and well, I don't know what we have. The reason why they don't know what they have is because they don't publish it. If they had better foam in their products, they would publish it, and they'd use it as a selling tool to support their price. You've got the room and board. Room and board is a 2.3 pound foam, although just recently, and I love them. They're probably my favorite retailer out of the big box retailers for quality. Those particular sofas are 2.3 or 2.3, but I've just heard that they're now back down to like a 2.0. So they must have had a need to cut margin. And that's where a sofa manufacturer typically tries to squeeze a little bit out, is by using a less foam. At my old company, I believe they're 2.3. And then my new company, MadeRight, we're 2.5. And a 2.5 pound foam is a 10 plus year sofa. It's partly why our sofas aren't cheap, but you're getting that longevity out of the sofa. That kind of gives you an idea. You can, take that to either us or someone else, and you'll understand what you're really buying. It's all about what's under the hood when it comes to a sofa, right? Frames don't necessarily matter so much. Springs don't matter so much at this level. Now, maybe at a Pottery Barn, sofa or an article sofa, you would want to look at that stuff. But when you get into the higher end, the frame will outlast you. The frame will outlast everything, right? The springs, same thing, won't fall off very quickly.
Okay.
So that kind of gives you an education, at least if you'll have that to take that forward.
I appreciate that. And that explains why this one has been with me for a while, because every time I've moved and thought like, all right, let's just get rid of that one and buy a new one, where we end up, I look at it and I sit down on it. It's pretty okay. So I've just kept.
Well, that's good. A lot of people bought pandemic sofas through article, and now they're back searching. And we actually find quite a few people that are looking for sofas because of that. They needed a quick sofa. It was cheap. You put apples to apples. You just look at them, on an image. It's really hard to tell what
Yeah.
you're really getting. And so our whole thing is the best materials under the hood as possible. My personal name is attached to all this. And so I'm now like, okay, let me do the best I possibly can so I don't have to, frankly, hear from you in 5 years. Why did my
Right.
sofa fall apart?
Yeah,
And you're happy forever and you tell your friends and that sort of
for
thing.
sure.
So let me show you some sofas. I'm going to show you Venice here. I'll
Okay.
walk through some of the design details and then I'll
Okay.
carry you through the rest of the showroom and we can discuss it after.